Hello and welcome to Andy's Chomping at the Bit for Tuesday, November 22nd. I'm Andy Warnett. Today I was originally going to talk about PTSD, but after reading an article on MSU Athletics official website, I decided to change the topic to something that's a little more controversial, but it's a lot more of an immediate issue in our country, not just our area, but our country. That is racial injustice. So, what got me on this topic is MSU hockey player by the name of Jagger Joshua. They were playing, Michigan State was playing Ohio State on November 11th, in which during that game he faced a player for Ohio State who made several racial slurs towards him during the game, one of which the official overheard and gave the guy a 10-minute game misconduct for his actions. However, it's now been over a week later. The Big Ten decided to do an investigation at the time and concluded the investigation with no further action. They said that the 10-minute game misconduct was sufficient for the actions of the player, which is kind of a really lame excuse for not wanting to address the real issue. And Ohio State did absolutely nothing either as far as punishing or suspending the player for his actions. They actually made the statement that since there was no conclusive video, audio evidence of him saying it, despite, by the way, the official giving him a penalty for this action. So that's not enough, in fact, for Ohio State. That's just, nothing big. Because unless there's video and audio of him saying these slurs to the Michigan State player, Jagger Joshua, they don't really care. And I do have to say, this is not just an Ohio State issue. This is not just a Big Ten issue. This is a national issue. It really is. We have issues across the board, not just Ohio State. There's issues at Michigan State with that. There's Michigan, USC, Alabama, probably a lot in Alabama, Syracuse, literally every university, even the small ones, Lance Community College, Hope, they all have this issue. It's across the board. Like it or not, that's the reality of it. And continually, it does not get properly addressed. I do have to mention, though, and it's not a hockey issue either. I mean, it's every sport issue. It's not just sports, it's everything, flat out. And I hear a lot of the arguments from a lot of other people, particularly white folks, that, it's not just black people that are discriminated against. And I will say, in their slight defense, racism does go both ways. It goes every which way, actually. With that being said, white people, we are not the victim. I'll just tell you that right now. We're not victims. Yes, there is racism. That goes both ways, every which way. But we are not the victims of racial injustice. That right there is the difference. There's nothing that we have been punished for being white, as far as legality, as far as discrimination in sports. Now, there are some things I disagree with, like certain colleges are exclusively to a certain ethnic group that I particularly do not agree with. However, that's still not making us the victims. We still have a lot of options that are public options, by the way, public universities that are still very, very, high class, very elite, and we're still allowed to go to them. So I can't use that as an excuse. Yes, racism is an all-around thing, but it is not racial injustice is not an all-around thing. And the problem we're having here is people think that just by acknowledging the problem is enough. Acknowledging it is not enough. I'm sorry. Saying it all you want, that's great. It makes you feel good. It makes you sleep better at night. Yeah. But nothing's going to change unless we actually try to make a change. And complaining about things and whining about things, like most situations, is not going to change it either. We actually need a healthy dialogue at this point for change. Yeah, I can point my fingers at he said, she said, all this stuff, and I can make generalized statements. That does not change a damn thing. I'll be realistic. It doesn't. But unlike most people that just complain about it and don't really come up with a realistic solution, I'm going to throw out a ballpark idea that might be a good idea. And it probably already exists at some form. I highly doubt it exists at the level I'm about to talk about here. The idea of a racial equality committee. Hold on for a second. A lot of people are thinking, yes, the government has things like that. Yes, there's small organizations out there that are somewhat like that. But I'm talking about one that does not include politicians in any way. Include politicians. Also, with my idea, there'd be 4 independent representatives for each ethnic group, at least the major 6. Yes, that includes Caucasians, so you're gonna have 4 there. You're gonna have 4 blacks. You're gonna have 4 Latinos. You're gonna have 4 Asians, and you're gonna have 4 Native Americans. And so that right there, we got those 5 ethnic groups right there. There's the major ones. There are other ones, but broad spectrum, baby steps. Okay. So you're probably wondering why we have 4 for each one. Here's why. We've got to have one that represents the eastern part of the United States, the Midwest, the South, and out west. Out west can kind of include the northern states too if they'd like. Obviously, they have to be included. The reason I want it to be geographically based too is because issues with minorities aren't the same in each region to the same extent and the exact same situations. They are issues regardless. And they need to be addressed regardless. We can't just say, oh, that's just a South problem. Oh, that's just police brutality is just a thing out in California. No, it's not. Trust me, it is not just a thing there. So we need a committee that kind of works together in the grand scheme of things. Because we failed to do that successfully so far. And when we have a group like this, it can't just be oh yeah, we'll meet twice a year or something like that, or once a month. No, it's got to be something that's literally. I'm saying on at least once a week. That's the bare minimum, at least once a week, and that's not too much to ask. 4 people from 5 different ethnic groups meeting once a week to represent the whole country for this sake. Really, it should be a daily thing, but we'll give them the pass to say once a week to start. Okay, work from that, and it's not going to be a temporary thing and say, okay, well 2 years from now we're done, we're good, woo. No, it's an ongoing meeting, ongoing committee, constantly working, talking within the groups. Everyone has their say, and everyone independent as far as the reps. So not all 4 people from the Caucasian group have to agree on something. Literally, they can all have their own separate opinion. They can have their own separate vote on how to handle things, their own separate input. So it's not like a 4-man team of races. It's literally individuals from different ethnic groups, from different regions, come together with their own perspective, their own ideas on how to start working towards fixing this problem. Not all of it's going to be legal. Not all of it's going to be legislative. Some of it's going to be simply addressing the communities in different ways. Some of it's going to be addressing businesses. Obviously, law enforcement is one of the big things. Obviously, Congress is a big one. But the whole picture. We need to figure out a way to get the whole picture fixed. And just talking about it, once again, is not enough. Or complaining about it's not enough. We do need to talk about it, but we need to talk about solutions to it. And not just general solutions. I mean, we've all heard various ones. Conservatives don't like the idea of defund the police. And coming from me, who's a pretty big progressive, the general idea of defund the police, I also disagree with. I understand the concept. Defund is kind of a misleading term. I do believe that there are definitely reforms that need to be done to the police, if that makes sense. They need to be held accountable for sure. That's no doubt about it. And right now they're not enough. So that's the big change. Complete overhaul. That's more like it. You can't expect us to. You can't expect people to peacefully get along and work in a diverse community if the people that are managing the legal system aren't doing the same. Just putting it out there. Not all, I do have to say this too, not all police officers are bad. In fact, the majority of police officers are actually good. The problem is we do have bad police, some departments more than others, that are very, very poor at their job, to say the least. That's putting it politely. Shouldn't have the job. It's kind of more realistic. Um, so a lot of that, though, has to do with how we recruit police, how we train police. Um, some of it even is how we pay police. If you want, I've had this talk with people that work at the Michigan DNR, Department of Natural Resources, with park officers. Uh, if you don't give people a decent pay, if you don't give people substantial benefits, and you don't give them the proper training, you're not going to get the proper people. Simple as that. You want people to stay? Give them a reason to stay. You want quality candidates? Give them a reason to apply. But with that being said, yes, pay good, right? But hold them accountable. If they're going to get paid good, they should have higher standards to work by. You know, it's not going to be one of those things like, hey, $30 an hour, yay, but you can do whatever you want. No, you're going to give them better pay, go ahead. $30 an hour is probably on the low side for them, I don't know. But regardless, hold them accountable to whatever they get paid. That's not asking too much. But like I said, training is a big part too. Right now, I just think they're being trained too much on the physical aspect instead of the verbal aspect. There was a former, I believe, LA police officer, and I learned this when I was actually working at the state parks. This terminology is something called verbal judo. It's not just good for law enforcement, it's actually very good for customer service people too. You can YouTube this guy, probably, he's got to be out there, just verbal judo. The concept is de-escalating situations with your words so you don't have to physically do anything. Most situations, believe it or not, can be de-escalated verbally. And a lot of it has to do with listening. A lot of people, this is big, even me, I'm guilty of it too. We think we listen, but we're not really listening. We're hearing just fine. We hear everything that's being said, but we're not listening. And there is a difference. There's not just two words that happen to be synonyms. No, there is a difference. Hearing is just the physical ability of the sound going into your ear, processing, and go, oh, yep, I heard it. Listening actually takes your brain a little more work to process what's being said, and kind of digest and analyze what's being said, or process what's being said instead of simply just hearing it. And a lot of people are looking for, when they're talking, they're looking for a quick, they're looking for a response or a question before it's ever finished. It's very common, unfortunately, with journalists. They do what I call partially listening. They're listening to the story, and they're acknowledging the information. But as they're listening, they're looking for the next question to ask. It's great for investigative stories. It's not truly listening, though. It's faster than listening, and I have to say that. You're going to get results a lot quicker. You're not going to get the best results, but you are going to get your answers quicker. And you're not going to get as much problem solved doing that. You're just going to get a story. Truly listening, you have to sit there and not just look for an answer, not just look for the next question. You have to put yourself in their shoes to the best of your ability. Now, let's be realistic. No one can truly put themselves in someone else's shoes. I could live on the same street. I could live in the same house with a twin. Quite literally, I could have like a biological, biological twin. We, born same time, lived same household, grew up same family, same school, and be completely different people. Because during that process, say just 18 years process, we did not do the exact same thing, the exact same time. We were addressed by the exact same person in the exact same way at the exact same time. So every little difference creates a difference in who you become. It's crazy, right? But that's the reality of it. So even if I had an identical twin, biological, the reality is we're still going to have differences. I still can't truly put myself in their shoes, even if the differences are only, very small in the general scheme of things. Because every little thing that happens to you creates a different it kind of it decides who you become. So if I've been addressed and someone says something to me, and they say the exact same thing to someone else, we're gonna have two different responses, or at least two different thoughts in our head, um, based on life experiences. That's how it works. Um, so what I was getting with that is when we're listening to people as far as racial injustice, as far as problems that they're having in society, we can't just simply say, yeah, okay, you said what you said, blah, blah. We need to kind of put ourselves out of our own environment and um, try to reach out a little bit more. Try to be a little more understanding of other people. Um, there's it's a big problem. It really is an issue in our country, and I know people think they realize it. I mean, even myself, when I was high school, college, I thought I had a general grasp on it. I thought it was pretty good. Um, Unfortunately, I was pretty off on a lot of things too. I didn't really realize it until, unfortunately, during my substance abuse time, going into poor communities, going into more diverse or more culturally different communities. I realized that the general conception that I had, the general conception that most of my white friends had, most of my family had, I'm pretty far off as far as the extent of the problem. Um, it's not just a brush over thing. It's pretty serious, um, and it's not just the black community that's being discriminated against. They are a big one, that's for sure. Native Americans, they're a huge group that's been discriminated against since. Gee, what do they call them? The Pilgrims? Yeah, they've been kind of dealt the short stick since back then. Um, right down to us, you know, government orders killing off their food source with the bison, or the Trail of Tears, Andrew Jackson. Ooh, what a good idea, jerk. Um, and some things just don't change. They just haven't changed. So that's a big one. And as of recently, or not recently, but more noticeably recently, the Asians have been very singled out as far as stereotypes, as far as poor treatment, um, just because of their ethnicity, because of their heritage. Um, and it's nothing new to our country. It really isn't. World War II, we created basically internment camps for Japanese Americans just because we were attacked by the Japanese. Well, because of some misinformation to a point, and because of the origins of a certain uh, COVID-19, people are discriminating heavily against Asian Americans. And it's wrong. It really is. I'm sorry. People may disagree with me. I don't really care. In fact, your opinion really doesn't matter to me that much. I respect your differences, but your ignorance is a problem in this situation. Um, we need to stop treating Asians like that too. Um, they are not responsible for COVID, especially Asian Americans, in which case they have absolutely nothing to do with it. And it kind of ticks me off, it really does, that we are treating people just because we assume that because they're of that heritage, of that ethnicity, that they're somehow tied into it. It really does rub me the wrong way. Um, and as far as the Latino community, we've all seen it with the border and people's fears of that. People are afraid of drugs and crime and all this stuff. Um, I can be the bearer of bad news for you guys. That stuff's already here. It really is. And people fleeing from other countries uh, to live. Yeah. You kind of got to look forward, or you got to kind of sympathize with them at least a little bit. You don't. Well, I guess you don't have to, but I do. And and people that are afraid of losing their jobs. This is a big one. I love this one actually. People afraid of losing their jobs to an immigrant that comes across. Um, well, if somehow they have a better education than you and they speak better English than you, I don't know, maybe you should work on yourself before you complain about them. That's just my 2 cents. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up here. Kind of getting a little heated over the whole thing. Um, Probably won't talk about it on Thursday. Might bring it up again. I don't know. We'll see where we are. Otherwise, I'll bring up another topic. But if you guys want to leave comments on it, give me some feedback. What you think of the whole thing? I'd appreciate it. Your choice. But I'm gonna wrap it up here. You guys have a great day. I'll talk to you guys again tomorrow with another Daily Biscuit. Have a good one.